Alright, going into game 3 here on Zelnaga Caverns. Friendly match between me, Observious, and of course the Raminator. This was the closest thing we had to a real game out of the 3 games we played. Instead of speeding through it like I did the other 2, we're actually going to go through and actually look at this. And so it is going to be a Terran versus Terran, which in the most part guarantees a long game. So I'm spawning in the top, he's spawning in the bottom, 1 o'clock and 7 respectively. Just mining minerals for now, and of course the map is going to be Zelnaga Caverns, which is a relatively secured main, although there's lots of space up here for shenanigans with Reapers or maybe even tanks. And then, you know, the open expansion, the back door, the possible third through rocks, or the close gold that's not very secure. And then the fourth's over here. I'm talking about the increased build time of something, because I haven't found a smooth Terran opening yet. I wonder if they like increased barracks build time or something. I sent 2 SCVs to chase his SCV over here. If we go over and look at production, you guys can keep track of him getting his gas fairly standard. And so, going back to faster speed, there's the 2 SCVs chasing that lone SCV, and he's going to find me walled in. And I actually want to see what he was seeing.
Our SCVs are under attack.
So all he saw was me being walled in. He didn't see anything else, which there was actually nothing else, but he didn't see whether or not I did extra gas. He's gonna later scan and find out. So here he goes. He's gonna go ahead and get a tech lab on his barracks as well as a factory, looking to get that fast tank. I'm guessing, if I had to guess. He did get a late factory, as he does have more than enough gas to get both tech lab and factory and have some left over. It's not supply block quite yet. He's going to go ahead and kill off that SCV over here. This other SCV is of course idle. And he's sending in these 2 SCVs to go ahead and look for that SCV. I'm going to go ahead and try sending it to the watchtower, but he's going to go ahead and spot it and shoot it. No. Alright, he doesn't spot it. So he's going to go ahead and he's pumping out marauders and getting out concussive shells. This is interesting. And then he's getting a second tech lab on the factory as well as a second barracks. Now, I've seen this before, but I don't quite know how to place it. I am of course going the predicted 5 racks build that I was testing throughout this. So making me some marines. This one isn't making a marine for some reason. There we go. This guy is idle. He needs to do something. There we go. And this SCV is going to go ahead past my patrolling SCV and think not much of it. He's going to go ahead and have 3 marines and a marauder guarding his ramp. Whereas I push out with my initial 8 marines. His scan is of course too late. And actually I want to back it up and see what he saw. Let's find out. What was he doing? Alright, so there's his forces. He's looking at them. He sees that SCV to go scout.
Research complete.
What does he do? Does he do anything differently? I don't think so. So he scans and he's like, oh look, it's 5 bear racks. So he knows that I'm about to push him like any second. He doesn't decide to do anything else aside from make a reactor, which is kind of controversial because the reactor takes a long time to build, but it will allow him to better deal with my infantry.
You want a piece of me, boy?
So he's making a tank, he's getting stim, making a marauder. He's gonna have less forces for this coming push, but I'm guessing with the tank he thinks he can hold, which he does, and you'll see why in a second. A single tank can hold off an early marine push or marine hellion, depending on how you do your early timing attack.
Add-on complete.
So he's got his force, and he's probably was going to go get raid himself. So here's my marines. 1, I had to run up the hill, and 2, this tank looks like it's going to die. It looks like it's going to die. But Oh look, SCV's got pulled off to repair it. And then more Marines spawn, the second tank spawns, and kills it off. So let's go ahead and look back at the everyone cam. So I've got more Marines streaming in. I'm going to go ahead and pull those guys back. That guy's going to die a tragic death. He still doesn't have siege tech researched, which is bad of me to not abuse that. I am, of course, getting my expo right around now, figuring he can't really do anything. I mean, he's got 2 tanks and 2 Marines, and he's reinforcing it, but I've got enough Marines, and he still doesn't have siege tech to deal with that, if need be. And actually, this was kind of very bad of me to not go ahead and check this watchtower and kill these guys when I can, but fog of war and all of that. So here goes his little scouting force that's not really protected. He barely misses my army leaving that watchtower to go ahead and take this watchtower. And he doesn't even see my guys go toward the back door. And so he starts up his expo way late, and he sees that mine's already half done. So his natural incentive is to gonna go ahead and follow his troops back to his expansion, thinking that I'm guessing that he thought that I was doing the same, and that just reinforced it. So I'm not certain why he ran all the way back to his base, but he ran all the way back to his base, which is actually going to help him out in a second if you look. So he's going to go ahead and getting tons of upgrades. He's getting the regular infantry armor 1, getting marine shields, already has stim, and siege tech on the way. I am, of course, being very bad about this. If you go ahead and look at my money is being kept relatively low, actually, because of these 5 barracks up, which I can barely support as far as minerals go. But you can see my gas is going up, but that's because I am don't have a way to spend it making those 2 factories. I'm going to be tech labbing those later. I really do need to make more depots with that SCV, but oh well. Meanwhile, I've got my back door 13 Marines over here to go for that later, and I've got another set of Marines over here and a 3rd group over here already set up, just to try to abuse his lack of mobility because he is using a tank-based army. But he's refusing to move out. As you can see, my watchtower can pick out all of that. I can pick out right here. And the only thing I really can't see was I didn't leave anybody at this watchtower, so he could have been sneaking along the edge of the rocks, but it's doubt. So he's going to go ahead and siege up this tank, which was very smart of him, as you guys will see later. And so looks like we're going to go ahead and have a normal game after that initial push, and it's all very slow and boring these past few minutes if you're watching this seriously. And so I go ahead and I pull these guys over to go ahead and help, and so now I have over a tab of Marines. And so he's just going to go ahead and leapfrog his tanks across his expo. And I didn't even notice that on my screen that he had poked with his forces and gotten his butt whooped. But he now knows that I'm there with some forces, so he's going to go ahead and siege up some tanks over here and probably rescan. I'm going to cause my Marines to go ahead and fall back. I'm going to go ahead and send a Marine over here to try to keep an eye on everything. So he's, of course, knows that I'm there, but he's not going to do anything about it. Meanwhile, he's already went and got himself reactor starports and still making reactor Marines, etc. Very weird build, but then again, he does play random. Meanwhile, he did miss a tank shot or 2 at my Marines over here, so they're in somewhat lowish health, but not too bad. Meanwhile, my secondary Marine force is coming on the flank over here to try to wait for him to move out, because I kept expecting him to push. Because, I mean, he's got 6 tanks and enough Marine Marauder support to make that like 7 or 8 tanks. Versus my 6 tanks, and I actually have a larger army than him as far as tanks and Marines and all of that, but you kind of see what happens here. I decided that he's not going to push out and move out with my tanks and all of that. you'll see what happens. So first I'm like, I'm not ready, My campaign wasn't set up. That was a very good 17-minute, 20-second timing push. So he got all of his tanks set up, or my tanks were destroyed that first main army. And then my secondary Marine army comes in from the side over here to inflict some damage. Meanwhile, his scary army is moving over there, and I have, 4 tanks set up and some Marines, which I'm hoping will be a deterrent because the tank lines. But you can see he has too many forces to actually make that count anything. Meanwhile, this secondary Marine army, while not winning that first big battle, did allow me to completely take out his Expo. As you can see by what I said over there, I did save my macro and slipped, as I do have over 1,000 minerals and 600 gas, which was very bad of me. I did, of course, or he did lift his orbital over here. I thought I had killed it, but it's over there. He doesn't know where to land it, I guess. So I went ahead and I'm going to go ahead and kill those 2 depots, and I'm going to run up here to this force and then die. I'll probably save the game after something like that. So, fairly standard-ish TVT game. I thought I was being nifty with all my Marine use, but I forgot that I had, like, 1,700 minerals at some point over here. And I forgot that I had this 3rd base for the longest time. So I gotta remember to enter SCVs, etc. And here I see a good game, and I die. So that was the end of that game, game 3. Hope you don't mind going through it at ×2 speed, apparently. And that's about that. As far as that. So the Rominator beats Observious, 2 out of 3, and ending recording.